Welcome back to the book log. Today I'm talking about We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This is an incredibly strange little book. I understand Shirley Jackson's reputation as a horror writer, but the word horror doesn't really capture the essence of her work, in my opinion. This book is scary in the way that things that are weird are scary. There's nothing supernatural or unexplainable, but the story is so bizarre and the characters act and think in such peculiar ways that it's unsettling. It's like the uncanny valley principle, like the scariest things are the things that are almost normal, but not quite 1 degree off, one shade different. I think this is one of the most kind of masterful aspects to Shirley Jackson's work, like the ability to evoke this sense of wrongness. The story centers on the reclusive Blackwood family through the eyes of the youngest daughter, Mary Cat, who narrates the story in the first person. Her and her older sister Constance, as well as their uncle Julian, all live together alone in this large, isolated house just on the outskirts of some unnamed village. Their family used to be much larger, but 6 years earlier, everyone else was killed in a poisoning incident. Constance was initially accused of the murder, as she was the one preparing the food that night, but she was later acquitted of the crime, and very few details of the trial are ever divulged or discussed. Uncle Julian, who was left partially paralyzed by the poisoning, has since become obsessively fixated on the tragedy, and he frequently recollects it and relitigates it as he is writing a book about it. But despite the gravity of what happened, he refers to the poisonings in a strangely casual, detached way. It's very uneasy, especially considering he lives with the presumed killer. Another important component to the story is that this poisoning incident has also turned the Blackwood family into social pariahs. The village people hate them and mock them and treat them with open contempt and revulsion, and as a result, the family, especially Mary Cat, harbors their own feelings of intense resentment towards the villagers in return. Constance and Julian never leave the house, but every time Mary Cat ventures into town to get groceries, she is bullied and mocked by the villagers in a way that seems unnecessarily cruel, and in return, Mary Cat internally wishes death upon them and constantly imagines herself walking over their corpses and stuff like that. The entire book is suffused with so much anxiety and paranoia and tension. It feels like something is always on the brink of snapping. Another thing to note is that Mary Cat is incredibly superstitious, and she has a variety of bizarre occult rituals and routines that she performs in order to keep herself feeling protected and safe. She buries various special objects around the property. She repeats random words and phrases, almost like incantations. She has very strict rules about specific days of the week and what she is and isn't allowed to do on them. She nails books and jewelry to trees. She intentionally breaks certain objects like plateware and mirrors. All of this, she thinks, is somehow working to protect her family and to ward off enemies, to give her like a sense of control. Since Mary Cat narrates the story, her like obsessive magical thinking is never questioned or investigated. It's just there. It's just another strange component to the tapestry of the strange family's lives. The Blackwoods just have an unsettling but tenuous peace established in their lives, and the first half of the book just kind of resides there, letting you soak up all this weirdness, but it is disrupted one day when their cousin Charles Blackwood shows up. Again, as a reader, everything in this book is being seen through Mary Cat's perspective. So when Charles comes into the fold, he is immediately painted as this evil, intrusive, corrupting force that is threatening the fragile world Mary Cat has created in her mind. But at the same time, she's not unjustified feeling that way. Like, he is skeevy and annoying, and his sole purpose for visiting seems to be acquiring the family fortune that is hidden somewhere in the house. But other more reasonable suggestions, like the family not shut themselves off from the world forever, are treated as equally vile and monstrous. He just brings an extremely unpleasant energy to the story, regardless of his ideas or motivations. Mary Cat schemes some interesting ways to get rid of him, like pouring water all over his mattress and spreading dirt and twigs and leaves throughout his bedroom. But she inadvertently takes it one step too far by dumping his smoldering pipe into a garbage can, which quickly causes their entire house to catch fire. And this leads to what I see as the main set piece of the entire book, which is the Blackwood house burning down, killing Uncle Julian, followed by the villagers arriving at the already chaotic scene, entering the house and proceeding to just destroy everything they can in a violent frenzy. Smashing cups, smashing plates, breaking windows and chairs. They're ruining cherished family heirlooms, pouring food all over the floor, just completely desecrating the Blackwood family home. The entire scene is very visceral and disturbing and surreal. It's like witnessing a nightmare. Throughout the book, it's kind of hard to evaluate the family's distrust of the villagers because they themselves aren't very reliable people. But this scene works to confirm all of the fear and anxiety and paranoia that has permeated the entire story. These people are wrong and wicked and evil, and even though the Blackwood family is obviously extremely maladjusted and troubled themselves, the book places you firmly on their side. There is a reveal at some point that it was actually Mary Cat who poisoned and killed the whole family, not Constance. Shirley Jackson heavily implied this many times before outright saying it, but between Mary Cat's frequently violent internal monologues and her obsession with and knowledge about the various poisonous plants and mushrooms around the house, I caught onto this relatively early. After the house burned down, I thought this information might come back into play, but it really doesn't. Some of the villagers show repentance towards the sisters, but mostly they just resume their strange lives in the few rooms that remain standing in the house. And the story pretty much ends the same place it starts, an unusual family living their unusual lives with a lot of dark trauma and baggage residing in the eerie background ambience. Mary Cat and Constance can find peace and find routine around the twisted ruins of their lives, and then they can do it again. We Have Always Lived in the Castle is completely mystifying and weird and evocative, and with that I think it absolutely nails what it set out to accomplish. It would be hard to find a book that makes you feel quite the same way as this one. Gonna give it a strong 9.